Everyone knew that the kid who used to run the late-night food truck was the light of Nora Sterling's life. You were the only one who stayed by her side during those 3 years when she lost everything. She used to say you were more important to her than her own life. I can help you fake your death and get away from her, but the risk is astronomical. What's in it for me? Jordan Quinn, Nora's fiercest rival, took a sip of brandy. She looked at Leo Reed with eyes full of mocking curiosity. The 30% stake in Sterling International that's in my name. You've wanted it for years. Leo's raspy voice was calm, as if you were discussing a grocery store discount. The only catch is that before I leave, you use that new tech your company developed to give me a memory wiping procedure. Every detail, every moment I ever spent loving Nora Sterling. I want it gone. The two sentences made Jordan freeze. The mockery drained from her face, replaced by pure shock. Are you insane? Look, Nora's been keeping a little pet lately. That Julian Thorne guy. I heard he's an ex-fiancé whose family went bankrupt, so he's been working the high-end lounges. But in our world, who doesn't have a side piece? He's no threat to your position. Why do you even care? Why did he care? Leo's eyelashes trembled. The image of his father lying on the operating table last night, bleeding out in agony because the surgeons were pulled away, flashed through his mind. His heart felt like it was being shredded. If you don't want the deal, I'll find someone else. A coldness settled over him as he stood to leave. Jordan immediately changed her tune, pulling out a transfer agreement. $7 billion. The money will be in your account within the hour. I'll stage an accident as soon as possible to get you out. As for the memory procedure, Leo signed the papers with clinical precision and turned toward the door. As his hand hit the knob, Jordan couldn't help but ask the question burning in her mind. Nora's pregnant with your child. Leo, haven't you just walk away from that? The question hit Leo like a sledgehammer to an open wound. He stood frozen, his face turning a sickly shade of pale, but he said nothing. He simply pushed the door open and left. The calm he had been forcing collapsed the moment the elevator doors hissed shut. 5 years ago, the Sterling family had gone bankrupt. Nora's parents died under brutal circumstances, and Nora herself had been nearly assassinated, escaping with heavy injuries to a rundown neighborhood on the south side. There, she was saved by Leo, a young man who ran a late-night food truck while taking care of his mute father. Later, at the gala celebrating the relisting of Sterling International, a trust fund brat had mocked Leo for smelling like cheap grease. Nora had personally shattered a glass over the man's face for it. Knowing Leo was afraid of the instability of marriage, she had proposed to him 99 times, slowly dismantling his insecurities bit by bit. Eventually, even Leo's father was moved to tears, using sign language to urge his son to say yes. For the first 2 years of their marriage, Nora treated him like royalty. Her friends used to joke, "It's a good thing Leo doesn't want the moon, or Nora would be out there building a rocket herself." Leo thought he would be happy forever. Until 6 months ago, when he accidentally walked in on Nora and Julian Thorne kissing in a private penthouse club. When he confronted her, Nora's striking features were partially hidden in the shadows. Her voice was sultry, unbothered. "Leo, in our circle, sometimes we just need a change of pace." Leo's tears wouldn't stop. "I want a divorce." Nora laughed as if he'd told a joke. A dark, possessive glint filled her eyes. "Honey, I'm never agreeing to that. We're locked together for life." Leo sent her divorce papers 3 times anyway. The first time, a drunken Nora locked him in the master suite for 5 days and 4 nights, pushing him to his physical limits until he could barely stand. The second time, Sterling International put enough pressure on every law firm in the city that no one would take his case. The third time, he drafted the papers himself, but on his way to find her, he was run off the road. When he woke up, the doctors told him Nora was 3 weeks pregnant. He touched her belly and finally gave in. Nora returned to the woman who loved him deeply, and Julian Thorne vanished from her side. "An irrelevant little toy," Nora had said with a cold smile, feeding Leo a grape. But during Leo's father's emergency heart surgery, it was for that little toy that she redirected every top surgeon in the city to Julian's bedside for a minor issue, leaving Leo's father to die on the table. Leo had completely broken down. He had stumbled through the hospital to find Nora, only to hear the truth that shattered his soul outside a VIP room. "Nora, it was just a stomach ache. You didn't need to do all this." Julian's voice was soft, laced with feigned guilt. "Today was your father-in-law's surgery. Shouldn't you be with Leo? He is the father of your child, after all." Julian's voice dropped, full of mock sadness. "As long as you two are happy, I don't mind if my biological child calls him dad." Leo's head throbbed, as if it were about to explode. Nora, usually so cold and imperious, was full of tenderness as she leaned into Julian's arms. If Leo hadn't been diagnosed with such a low sperm count, you wouldn't have had to step in while he was in that coma, spending those 3 days and nights with me to make sure I got pregnant. Our family owes you a debt. As for my father-in-law, I arranged for the best doctors. Don't worry about it. Today, I'm all yours. Julian smiled and pulled her into a deep kiss. Outside the door, Leo felt as if he had fallen into a frozen lake. He couldn't stop shaking. The child he had been protecting for 4 months belonged to Julian Thorne. Her reconciliation was nothing more than a trick to get him to raise a child that wasn't even his. Nora, how can you be so heartless? His heart felt like it was splintering into 1,000 pieces. Leo stumbled away. As he followed the nurses wheeling his father's sheet-covered body to the morgue, he passed Nora, who was whispering into Julian's ear. Julian instinctively tried to look over, but Nora didn't even turn her head. She gently covered Julian's eyes, her voice cold and dismissive. It's a dead body. Filthy. 3 words, each one a dagger. Leo didn't even have the strength to confront her. His heart seemed to stop beating the moment the full truth settled in. He didn't want to love Nora Sterling anymore. The elevator hit the first floor. The chime of a text message, the notification of the $7 billion transfer, jolted him from his memories. He wiped his eyes and stepped out. But before he could gain his footing, the cold barrel of a gun pressed against the back of his head. Nora's dark, seductive voice drifted into his ear. Sweetheart, you're sneaking around meeting my biggest business rival. I think I deserve an explanation. Leo looked down, a wave of bitterness and absurdity washing over him. So, she hated betrayal too? Yet she knew. In her senior year of high school, Julian's older brother had killed Leo's mother in a hit-and-run while she was working her street stall. The Thorne family used their influence to get him off scot-free. Julian himself had used his status to spread rumors that Leo was a thief, constantly bullying him and threatening to run over his father too. Eventually, they forced Leo to drop out despite his straight-A average. And yet, she still slept with Julian. Anger was followed by a profound sense of exhaustion. He looked at her, his expression numb. No explanation. Nora blinked, Leo's pale, handsome face reflected in her pupils. Her eyes suddenly softened, and she casually tossed the gun to a bodyguard. I'm joking, she whispered, throwing her arms around him. Her voice was as sweet as honey. I know my husband loves me. You just came to Quinn's office to make me jealous because I wasn't there for you when your dad passed, right? It's all my fault, Leo. To make it up to you, I've organized a massive funeral for your father. I'll take you there now. Leo's gaze fell on the faint hickey on the side of her neck. He felt a cold laugh bubbling in his chest. He wanted to scream that she didn't deserve to even speak of his father, but he didn't fight. He got into the car. He wanted to see his father off one last time in peace. As for Nora Sterling, he was done with her forever. The funeral was packed with guests. In the middle of the crowd stood Julian Thorne, wearing a slim-fit white suit, holding Leo's father's portrait with a faint smirk on his face. Leo's jaw tightened until it hurt. He stepped forward and snatched the photo away. Who invited you? Get out. Julian shrunk his shoulders, putting on an act. Leo, I just wanted to apologize again for what happened to your mom all those years ago. His voice cracked, but his eyes were full of mockery. It's so sad. Your dad lived a hard life and died before he could really enjoy any of your success. Leo said coldly, if you're so sorry, get on your knees and bow to him 99 times. Julian froze, looking to Nora for help. Nora. Nora's voice was indifferent. Didn't you hear my husband? Get lost. Her tone sounded annoyed, but she completely ignored Leo's demand for the apology. Julian's expression brightened, throwing a provocative look at Leo. Leo laughed, a dry, bitter sound. Nora, I said 99 times. He wants to repent, doesn't he? I'm giving him a chance. He looked at Nora, his gaze firm. Nora looked back, her eyes shifting from helplessness to irritation. I told him to leave, Leo. Don't push it. You don't want to make a scene at your father's funeral, do you? She was threatening him. For Julian, Leo felt as if a giant hand were squeezing his heart. He swallowed the bitterness. Fine. Seeing him back down, Nora frowned and signaled her assistant to take Julian away. The other guests, unaware of the tension, whispered about how much Nora Sterling adored her husband. Every word was a blade cutting into Leo's chest. During the entire ceremony, Leo didn't say another word to Nora. Even when it was time to leave, he tried to avoid her car. But Nora followed him. She dismissed the driver and took the wheel herself. Honey, remember how we used to finish work at 3 a.m. and just drive along the lakefront? The setting sun caught her profile, And for a moment, Leo's heart skipped. Memories flooded back. Back then, they had nothing but life felt warm. One time, their old van broke down in a torrential downpour. Leo had a high fever and had fallen asleep in the passenger seat. Nora didn't wake him. She wrapped him in her own raincoat and pushed the heavy cart in the van for 4 hours to get him home. When he woke up and found her shivering with a fever of her own, he'd scolded her for being an idiot. You should have just left me and gone home. I'm a man. I can handle a night in the rain. She had looked at him, her eyes bright like a kitten's. But Nora will never leave Leo behind. The screech of tires jolted Leo from his daze. Before he could even open his eyes, the car swerved violently to the right. The passenger side, his side, slammed into a delivery truck that had been swerving to avoid a pedestrian. After the sickening crunch of metal, Leo looked up, blood streaming down his forehead. Through the haze, he saw Nora, the woman who promised never to leave him, bolt out of the driver's seat without a single glance his way. She ran toward a pale, unconscious Julian Thorne, who had been the pedestrian in the road, and carried him away in a panic. The dead heart in Leo's chest flared with a fresh spark of agony. He ignored the throbbing in his head, forced the mangled passenger door open, and stumbled out. The truck driver, originally furious, turned pale at the sight of Leo's blood-covered face. "Kid, are you okay?" Even a stranger cared, but his wife had forgotten he existed. Leo watched Nora's retreating back, his voice dry and hollow. "Please, call an ambulance." The world went black. When Leo woke up, his head was wrapped in bandages. He pulled out his .4 and stood up, intent on leaving. But as he passed the stairwell, he heard Nora's best friend, the hospital's vice president, whispering to her, "Nora, Julian just fainted from low blood sugar. You abandoned Leo to take care of him. Do you have any idea how much blood Leo lost? Are you actually falling for Julian? Did you forget the thorns destroyed Leo's family? How can you do this to him?" Nora stood in the shadows, the dim yellow light making her eyes look even darker. "I can't let Julian go. He's the biological father of my child." Her voice was chillingly calm. "I love Leo, but Julian has loved me for 8 years. He made mistakes when he was young, but the Thorns are bankrupt now. He's paid enough. Besides, Julian doesn't want to take Leo's place. I gave Leo power and status. Letting Julian's child be my heir is fair." Her friend was speechless for a moment. "So that's why, after you found out you were pregnant, you used the car accident as an excuse to order the doctors to give Leo a secret vasectomy. You did it so even if he finds out the truth later, he can't have his own kids to compete for the inheritance? Did you ever stop to think that once he knows, he'll leave you forever?" Another bloody truth hammered into Leo's already broken heart. He stood frozen, his mind a total blank. He never imagined she could think of him as someone so greedy, so obsessed with her money. He had never wanted a cent of the sterling fortune. Never. He was shaking with rage, but he stopped when he heard Nora's reply. "Leo won't leave me." Nora's voice was possessive, utterly confident. "His father is dead. I'm the only family he has left in this world. And unless I die, I'm never letting him go." A chill ran from the soles of Leo's feet to his head. He realized then that Nora was truly insane. He had to pretend he didn't know. He had to slip away quietly. He forced himself back to his room just as a nurse arrived. "Mr. Reed, your wound has stopped bleeding, but we need to do a follow-up CT scan." Leo didn't think twice. He followed her to the imaging suite. But as soon as he lay down, the nurse strapped him to the bed. She stuffed a wad of gauze into his mouth and slid him into the narrow, claustrophobic tube of the machine before walking out. Leo's heart sank. Something was wrong. He struggled to scream, to move, but then he heard the nurse locking the door and telling people the room was out of order for maintenance. Suddenly, he was alone in the dark. The suffocating wave of claustrophobia hit him instantly. His body went rigid, trembling uncontrollably. It was high school all over again, Julian and his gang stripping him naked, dousing him in filth, and locking him in a locker for 3 days. Since then, he had suffered from severe claustrophobia. It had taken 4 years of therapy, which Nora had paid for, to finally help him move past it. Now it felt like he was back in that dark box. His breath came in ragged gasps, sweat soaking his hospital gown. The most humiliating part was the pressure in his bladder he couldn't ignore. He was trapped there for 17 hours before a shift change doctor found him. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, a severely dehydrated Leo could barely see. His legs were numb. He had to lean against the wall just to stay upright. Somewhere nearby, someone laughed. "Oh my God, he wet himself. That's disgusting." That sharp, familiar voice snapped Leo back to reality. He looked up and met Julian's smug gaze. Julian was standing there in a bespoke suit, his smile handsome and cruel. While you were crying and begging like a dog in there, Nora was with me. Leo understood immediately. This was Julian's doing. Shame and rage turned his vision red. He turned to the other doctors and nurses watching the scene and barked, "The CEO of Sterling International is my wife. Call the police right now. I want an investigation into this hospital's gross negligence." Julian's smug expression faltered, but then Nora appeared with her security detail. Within seconds, the room was cleared. Nora stepped in front of Julian, shielding him. She watched as her bodyguards forced Leo into a wheelchair. She looked at Leo with a mix of frustration and violence in her eyes. It was just a prank Julian pulled. Why do you have to be so dramatic? Even though he was already dead inside, those words still managed to cut him. Leo began to laugh, his eyes turning red. "Nora, today it's him or me. Choose." In 5 years of marriage, it was the first time Nora had seen such a look of total desolation on his face, as if he had nothing left to lose. Her pupils flickered, but her voice remained cold. "Leo, stop being a child. As long as I'm here, no police station will touch this case." That was the final blow to his hope. He laughed through his teeth. "And if I demand justice anyway?" Nora's eyes flashed. "You won't." On her signal, a bodyguard stepped forward and unwrapped a black cloth, revealing Leo's father's cremation urn. Leo's fingernails dug into his palms. His soul was trembling. "You're using my father to threaten me?" Nora's expression remained dark, though her movements were incredibly gentle as she draped a blanket over his legs. "Don't touch me." Leo shoved her away, his voice raw. "Nora, I should have let you die in that alleyway. I regret ever loving you." Nora didn't get angry. She just tucked the blanket back in. But at his words, the coldness in her eyes deepened into a frosty gloom. "Sweetheart, just be a good husband and don't ever think about leaving me." She leaned in, whispering like a lover. "As punishment, you're grounded for the next week. You'll stay at the villa and recover. Take him home." Leo was stripped of all his electronics. Bodyguards watched him 24 hours a day, reporting Nora and Julian's movements to him as if to taunt him. Over those 7 days, Nora and Julian did everything couples do. Julian liked roses, so Nora bought 99,000 roses from around the world to build him a floral castle. Sterling family tradition forbade tattoos, but after Julian liked a photo of a design online, Nora had it tattooed over her heart. They kissed on private beaches. She bought the naming rights to a baby elephant in a sanctuary and named it Nora Julian. While the guards reported these things, Leo was busy. On the first day, he took every bespoke suit Nora had ever bought him and burned them in the yard. On the second day, he had the peach trees they'd planted together cut down and the lily garden dug up. On the third day, he threw every gift she'd ever given him into a heavy-duty shredder. That night, Nora returned to the villa. She walked in, cold and imposing in her trench coat. She threw a limited edition watch onto the dining table. "Leo, Julie and I are just having some fun. When I'm bored, I'll come back to the family. Why do you have to throw these tantrums to force me home?" Leo finished the last bowl of dumplings his father had made before passing. His voice was flat. "That's the watch Julian didn't want, isn't it?" Julian had added Leo on a burner social media account. Leo knew more details about their affair than the guards did. Julian had posted a picture of that watch earlier, calling it old man style, and Nora had immediately brought it home to Leo. "So what?" Nora sneered, her eyes dark as a winter lake. "You've forgotten you were just a short-order cook who didn't even finish high school. You're living high on my dime now. What are you still acting so self-righteous about?" His heart, already dead, felt a fresh stab of pain. His lips trembled, but his throat was so tight he couldn't speak. Years ago, when the rich kids mocked his background, she was the one who swore she didn't care. Now the truth was out. She looked down on him. He was just a bird in a cage she owned. The phone rang, breaking the suffocating silence. When she saw the caller ID, Nora's eyes softened. "Julian?" Julian's flirtatious voice was loud enough for Leo to hear. "Nora, do your knees still hurt? I noticed they were all scraped up. Next time, let's not be so adventurous in front of your father-in-law's grave." The last string in Leo's mind snapped. Shaking with rage, he grabbed a vase off the table and smashed it on the floor. "You disgusting animals. Get out." The thought of his father being humiliated by the woman he had once loved most was too much. If only he'd known. If only he'd known. "I should have let you die in that alley." His eyes were bloodshot, and his weakened body finally gave out. He collapsed into unconsciousness. Leo had fainted from low blood sugar and extreme stress, but Nora summoned every top doctor in the city. Watching the scene, Leo felt no gratitude, only disgust. For the next 2 days, Nora stayed by his side. When Leo ignored her, she forced Julian to come and apologize. Leo, I'm sorry. I was just joking with Nora that day. Julian's tone was half-hearted. Leo gave him a cold look and walked out to a car. Nora didn't stop him, but she followed in her own vehicle. Leo went to a high-end pawn shop and sold every luxury item Nora had ever given him for pennies on the dollar. Jordan Quinn had told him that on the day he died, he couldn't take anything related to his current identity. He needed cash. As Leo sold things, Nora followed behind him and bought them all back. Finally, when she saw a beggar holding the engagement ring she had designed 2 years ago, she realized something was wrong. She stopped him. Leo, are you short on cash? Charity, Leo said flatly. To ensure I never have to see you again in my next life. Nora breathed a sigh of relief. There's a charity gala tonight at the Blue Ridge Club. I was going to cancel, but some of your old friends will be there. Do you want to go and catch up? Leo wanted to say no, but those few guys were the only ones who had been decent to him in her world. He should say goodbye. That evening, they arrived at the club. Julian sent her hundreds of messages, which she ignored while watching Leo. At the gala, she stayed close to him, ignoring Julian's wounded looks from across the room. Leo didn't care. He spent his time talking to his friends. It was late when they left. On the way home, Nora got a call from club staff. Ms. Sterling, it's an emergency. Mr. Thorne got drunk and fell into the pool. He's unconscious. Nora's expression shifted instantly. I'm coming. She turned to Leo. Honey, I'll have another driver pick you up. Wait here for a minute. She tried to lead him out of the car. Leo looked at her. Is there no room for me? A flash of guilt crossed Nora's face, but she insisted. You've never liked Julian, and he's drunk. I don't want him being sick in the car and annoying you. The other driver will be here in 5 minutes. Go home and rest. She had her bodyguards pull Leo out of the car, then sped away. Leo stood on the curb, the irony clear in his eyes. She thought she was being subtle, but half an hour ago, Julian had sent him a message from his burner account. Nora's just pretending to be nice to you to protect me. She's staging an accident at the club tonight, so she can ditch you and come pick me up for our anniversary. The message was accompanied by dozens of explicit photos of Nora and Julian together. Lately, Nora only comes to see me after you fall asleep. Sometimes we even do in your bed while you're out cold on sleeping pills. Leo felt nothing but cold disdain. But then a masked man grabbed him, covering his nose and dragging him into the tall bushes nearby. The man was brutal. Before Leo could scream, a heavy hammer slammed into his chest. The first blow silenced him, blood spraying from his mouth and nose. The man didn't stop. He hit him 13 times. Then, he landed several more blows to Leo's head. By the end, Leo's chest was caved in, broken ribs piercing through skin. The man finally stopped, laughing maniacally into Leo's ear as his vision faded. I killed your old man with my car, and now I get to finish you off, you piece of trash. This is a warning. You're a peasant. You don't belong in the elite, and you definitely don't get to take a woman from my brother. The Sterling heir is going to be a thorn. Fading in and out of consciousness, Leo heard sirens. He was rushed to the hospital. He heard Nora's hysterical screaming. Save him. You have to save him. She was a mess, her hair soaked with sweat. Leo hadn't seen her this panicked in a long time. When she saw him looking at her, she tried to step forward, but a bodyguard stopped her. Ms. Sterling, Mr. Thor heard about the accident and took an overdose out of guilt. He's in critical condition. Nora's face went pale. Without a second thought, she turned and ran toward Julian's room. Once she was gone, Leo used his last bit of strength to grab the doctor's coat. Call Jordan Quinn. Tell her, it's time for the procedure. When Leo woke up, the hospital VP, Dr. Claire Vance, was changing his bandages. He looked at the jagged 12-inch scar on his chest and asked raspily, Does Nora know? Claire looked guilty. She shook her head. Julian took a whole bottle of pills. Nora's been at his bedside because she's afraid he'll try again. She can't even come and ask? Leo found it funny, but he didn't care anymore. Jordan Quinn sent a message. The memory-wiping procedure was a success. He felt nothing for Nora Sterling now. No love, no hate. She was a stranger. Seeing Leo's lack of reaction, Claire assumed he was just in shock. She finished her checkup and left. Leo focused on Jordan's instructions. The accident was set for tomorrow at midnight. Finally, he could leave. A moment later, Nora burst into the room and threw her arms around him. Now, I thought I lost you. She was shaking with relief. She tried to lift his hospital gown to check the wound, but he pushed her away. He felt an instinctive revulsion toward her touch. She assumed he was just throwing a tantrum. I know I haven't been around much. I'll clear my schedule for the next month. We're going on a vacation to help you recover. Anywhere you want to go. Leo thought of the locations Jordan had given him. I want to go on that cruise ship where we spent our honeymoon. He looked out the window, his voice light. The next evening, Nora wheeled Leo onto the ship. It was a custom vessel she'd built for him. Aside from essential staff, there were over 1,000 performers brought on just to entertain him. Knowing he was about to leave, Leo was in a great mood. He watched every performance with a smile. Seeing him happy, Nora gave every performer a $10,000 bonus. The theater erupted in cheers. At 9:30 p.m., they headed back to the penthouse suite. They met the captain in the hallway. Ms. Sterling, to make it in time for the fireworks display you requested, we need to depart now. Nora nodded, but then her lead bodyguard ran up, looking pale. He whispered in her ear, Mr. Thorne is missing. A witness saw someone matching the description of the guy who attacked Leo, and people from the Quinn group were seen near the hospital. Nora instinctively moved to leave, then stopped, looking at Leo. Go find him, Leo urged her. He gave her a bright, radiant smile, the kind he used to give her when they were truly in love. Nora's eyes welled up. This is the last time, Leo. I promise. Once you're better, I'll send Julian abroad. It'll just be us and the baby. Forever. Leo nodded. As soon as she was gone, the smile vanished. Nora, for us, there is no forever. Nora used every resource she had and found Julian in a cabin 40 miles from the port. Within minutes, photos of her kissing Julian on the rescue helicopter hit the top of the trending news. 10 minutes before the end, Leo sent his bodyguards away, claiming he was hungry. 5 minutes before the end, Leo placed 2 torn marriage certificates and a thumb drive containing the truth about his father's death on the coffee table. 3 minutes before the end, Leo recorded a timed video to be sent to Nora. 1 minute before the end, Leo stood alone on the deck. The sea breeze ruffled his hair. He climbed onto the railing, barefoot. Looking down at the churning black water, he felt a strange sense of peace. The midnight bell chimed. Leo leaned back. At that exact moment, the fireworks exploded in the sky. The brilliant colors and Leo's falling silhouette were reflected in Nora's eyes as she raced toward the cruise ship on a speedboat. No. 2 hours earlier, Nora had been staring at her phone in the back of her car. Her mind was a mess. She realized that since Leo's father died, Leo had barely spoken to her. He never reached out first. He was distant, cold. Back in the hallway, that smile he gave her. It was the first one in weeks. Her memory flashed back 5 years. She had seen her parents murdered. She had crawled through the dirt, bleeding out in a slum alleyway. Then Leo appeared. He was wearing an old shirt, looking like a breath of fresh air. He saved her. He encouraged her. Loving him was the most natural thing in the world. She had always been proud that she found him first. She had sworn to love him forever. But then, Ms. Sterling, the police say Julian was last seen here. Her assistant's voice broke her reverie. They were at the foot of a mountain. There were police cars and reporters everywhere. Nora's heart sank. Who leaked this? I said, keep it quiet. I don't want this on the news. She didn't want Leo to see it. She didn't want him to be jealous. But Ms. Sterling, the assistant said, confused, you signed a long-term contract with these outlets. You told us to push every story about Mr. Thorne to the top of the trends to help his image. Nora froze. She had forgotten. That was back when she first started with Julian. She had been married to Leo for 2 years and was starting to find his constant care annoying. To her, Leo was handsome, but he was too boring in bed. Too shy, too traditional. Nora had a high drive and often stayed out late with her friends just to avoid going home to him. Then she found Julian. The Thorne family was gone, but she'd known him since they were kids. She gave him a job. Julian was smart. He looked at her with a flattery Leo never showed. It made her feel powerful. They eventually ended up in bed. At first, she was panicked. But Julian was smart. He told her he just wanted to be her pet and wouldn't challenge Leo. Nora liked that. She told her assistant to push Julian's brand. She even leaked photos of them together just to make Leo jealous, to make him submit to her. Now, she realized how much she had hurt him. She had to fix it. Cancel the contracts. I don't want to see another word about me and Julian in the press. The rescue was suspiciously easy. Julian was found tied up in the cabin, covered in blood, but the kidnappers were gone. He threw himself into Nora's arms, sobbing. Nora felt nothing but impatience. It was 10:50 p.m. She had to get back to the ship. She pushed him away. I'm sending you to the hospital. The helicopter is ready. Julian wouldn't let go. No, stay with me. Seeing her irritation, he whispered, I think I saw the kidnapper's face. I remember what he looks like. Nora took him to the hospital to give a statement. In the process, Julian stumbled, and his lips brushed hers. Someone in the crowd caught the moment and posted it. By the time she finished, it was 11:30 p.m. She raced back to the ship. Her guards reported that Leo was calm. She looked at a photo of his peaceful face and felt a surge of longing. Faster. But a mile from a ship, a thick fog rolled in. The navigation glitched. When it cleared, she saw Leo on the deck. Lao! Her scream was lost in the wind. She watched him climb the railing. Her heart stopped. Get to the deck. Save him. Now! Nora was losing her mind. She watched him. He looked at her and smiled. A real, radiant smile. Boom! The fireworks went off. Leo fell like a snowflake into the dark. No. Nora dove into the freezing water. She swam toward where he had disappeared. But as she got close, the ship's massive propellers churned the water. A cloud of red bloomed in the dark. When the rescue team pulled Nora out, she was hysterical. She was clutching a piece of Leo's white shirt. Kill everyone who was supposed to watch him. I want them all dead. Her eyes were bloodshot, full of a terrifying madness. Leo must be so cold. She whispered, tears streaming down her face. She grabbed the guard's gun. Don't be afraid, Leo. I'm bringing them down to be with you. Ms. Sterling, wait. The police have news about Leo. Nora dropped the gun. The assistant played a voice memo from the lead detective. Ms. Sterling, our technicians identified the man who attacked Leo. It was Caleb Thorne, Julian's older brother. He was also the one who kidnapped Julian. But unlike the brutal attack on Leo, he avoided any vital areas on Julian. Also, the blood on Julian wasn't human blood. Nora stood on the deck, her expression becoming lethal. Find out everything. Search the ship. Caleb Thorne is here. This was a setup to kill my husband. While her team searched, Nora headed to the hospital. Julian was in his VIP room, responding to fan comments on his social media. Nora saved me. I'll love her forever. He got a call. Is the trash dead? He listened, then frowned. Suicide? Whatever, as long as he's gone. His whole family was peasant garbage anyway. I'll fake an illness to keep Nora away from the investigation. She loves me. Outside, a nurse knocked. Mr. Thorne, your sleeping tonic. Julian yawned. I already paid you $1 million. I'll give you 10 more when I marry Nora. I am tired. In the cruise ship's theater, Caleb Thorne was hiding in the projection booth. He pulled out a bag of white powder, snorted it, and leaned back, high as a kite. That bitch Nora will be my sister-in-law soon. I'll make her crawl. He opened the door to get some food. A gun barrel pressed against his forehead. Nora's voice was like ice. Let's see how many seconds you live after I pull this trigger. Caleb froze, shaking. Nora, wait. I'm Julian's brother. We went to school together. Bang. Nora shot his ear off. Caleb screamed, collapsing in his own filth. Nora didn't blink. I want the truth before sunrise. She went up to the penthouse suite. The assistant was waiting, trembling. Ms. Sterling. He left a video. It was time. Nora watched the screen. Nora, if you're seeing this, I'm dead. No one forced me. I chose this. Please don't hurt the guards. I've been counting down the days until I could leave you. I loved you once, but you took my father, you slept with my enemy, and you took my right to be a father. Your arrogance killed me. I knew everything. Goodbye, no. I hope I never see you again. Leo looked happy in the video. Alive. But his words were poison. Nora collapsed, clutching the torn marriage certificates. She howled in agony. The next day, Nora filed a lawsuit against the Thornes for the death of Leo's mother and his forced dropout years ago. Caleb was dealt with. Julian Thorne was shopping with Nora's black card, feeling invincible. He didn't care if she was mad. He knew her weak spots. He looked at his phone, a picture of Nora from last week. Her belly was slightly rounded. In a few months, she'd forget Leo. They'd be a family. He bought a set of luxury baby clothes. Run the card. The clerk returned, looking awkward. Mr. Thorne, the card was declined. Julian's phone rang. It was Nora. Julian, where are you? I'm at the door. I have a surprise. Julian ran outside. A Mercedes was waiting. Where's Nora? She's preparing your surprise, the driver said. An hour later, they were at a secluded medical facility. Julian was confused. Nora's here. The driver knocked him out. When Julian woke up, he was strapped inside an MRI machine. Let me out. I'm Nora's future husband. Nora's voice came over the intercom. My husband? You. She laughed. I wonder how long you've been using my name to bully people. Even my Leo. Julian saw Caleb's severed head on a tray nearby and lost control of his bowels. Your brother had a chance to run, but the sharks got him, Nora said casually. As for you, I already had the abortion. Your little toy is gone. Do it. Bodyguards moved in, dumping crates of rats and snakes into the machine with him. "This is for Leo," Nora whispered. 72 hours later, a mangled Julian was forced to sign organ donation forms. He was a shell of a man, but he looked at Nora with pure hatred. "You can kill me, but Leo is never coming back. You're just as filthy as I am. You gave the order for his vasectomy. You slept with me. You're the most disgusting woman in the world." Nora sat in silence as they dragged him away. "You're right," she whispered. "I deserve hell." 3 days later, Julian was put on a cargo ship to Southeast Asia. The Thorne family business collapsed. Julian's father died in prison. His mother committed suicide. Nora spent her days drinking in the villa, surrounded by Leo's old clothes. When her secretary finally forced her way in weeks later, she found Nora looking like a ghost. "Ms. Sterling, I found something." The day after Leo's father died, he met with Jordan Quinn. They made a deal. Nora's eyes lit up. "Get the car. We're finding Jordan." In a hospital in the Pacific Northwest, Leo Reed opened his eyes. "Dr. Brown, the patient from the car accident in room 07 is awake." 10 minutes later, Leo was being examined. "Mr. Shun, the accident caused permanent damage to your reproductive system, but otherwise, you're recovering well." Leo looked at his new ID, Anthony Shun. He spoke perfect American English. "Thank you, doctor." Leo contacted Jordan's local contact, a man named Marcus who had studied in China for years. Marcus took him to a beautiful house in a quiet, safe neighborhood in Oregon. "Everything you need is here. My friends live next door. They love the culture you come from. If you need anything, just knock." It was a fresh start. Leo explored the house, trying to bury the shadows of his past. Suddenly, there was a knock on the window. He grabbed a baseball bat and pulled the blinds. "Get away from my house." He found himself looking into the big, teary eyes of a chubby little girl stuck in the branches of his apple tree. "I'm so sorry." Leo was bright red. He had just terrified a 5-year-old. The girl's older sister, Nina, a lifeguard, came over. "Is this how you solve problems?" she teased. The girl, Beth, sobbed. "I just wanted an apple." Leo softened. "You can have them whenever you want." Nina laughed. "Don't spoil her. Our mom is a chef at the best place in town. She's always looking for more friend from back home. Come over for dinner sometime." Leo felt at home for the first time in years. That night, he had dinner with Nina, Beth, and their mother, Sarah Sue. Sarah reminded him of his own mother. Everything was going to be okay. In an auction house back in the city, Nora Sterling was waiting for Jordan Quinn. Jordan was there to bid on her mother's estate. Nora cornered her in a private box. "Where is he?" Jordan sneered. "You cheated on him, broke his heart, and he jumped. What does that have to do with me?" Nora didn't believe her. She followed Jordan to her car and took the wheel. She drove toward a cliff. "Tell me where he is, or we both go over." "You're insane." Jordan screamed as the car sped toward the edge. 10, 9, Nora counted. "Fine, you're both crazy." Jordan yelled. The car stopped inches from the drop. "See you tonight, Anthony." Beth waved from the car. Leo was planting tulips. He'd been in Oregon for 3 months. He gave the girls handmade Lucky Charms. "To keep you safe." He knew Nina and Beth weren't biological sisters. Nina was an orphan Sarah had adopted. Beth was a baby Nina had found abandoned on a hiking trip. They were a family of choice. And now, Leo was part of it. He drove Sarah to the local church for a charity bake sale. He'd been volunteering there for weeks. As they were leaving, the weather turned. Rain began to fall. Leo's heart stopped. Standing at the corner was a thin, haunted-looking woman. Nora Sterling. Time froze. Leo began to shake with a visceral terror. Sarah grabbed his arm. "Anthony? What's wrong?" Nora stood there, her face gaunt, her eyes full of a desperate, wounded joy. She didn't move. Leo didn't wait. He grabbed Sarah, got into the car, and floored it. He spent the next hour packing. He had to leave, but Nina came over and talked him down. "This isn't your old home, Anthony. You have a life here. You have friends. We won't let her take you." For the next 2 weeks, Nora didn't approach him. She seemed to have vanished. But Leo knew she was there, watching from the shadows. Life returned to a tense normal. A new family moved into the neighborhood, a man who claimed to be a wealthy investor. One day, the man's elderly mother tripped near Leo. Leo helped her, called an ambulance, and paid the deposit. The man and his wife showed up 4 hours later, refused to pay, and accused Leo of pushing her. "Why else would you help her?" When Leo threatened to call the police, the man slapped the phone out of his hand. "Do you know who I am? I own this hospital. You're out of this neighborhood tonight." A group of thugs surrounded Leo. "I'd like to see you try," Nora's voice rang out. The man's face went white. "Ms. Sterling, this guy ran into my mom. He's my husband," Nora said, stepping in front of Leo. The man immediately backed down, terrified. Nora looked at Leo, waiting for a thank you. Leo felt nothing but disgust. Nina and Sarah arrived with the police and the security footage showing the mother had tripped on her own. Nina forced the man to apologize. Nora tried to explain, "I didn't mean it like that." Leo laughed bitterly. "But you instinctively assumed I was the kind of person who would push an old woman. Because I'm just a short-order cook, right?" The investor moved out that night and was arrested for fraud a week later. Nora began sending Leo apology letters and gifts every day. He threw them all in the trash. She began standing outside his house in the rain, wearing the clothes he had once bought her. One morning, Leo was taking Beth to get chocolate. "Nora, please go home," Leo said. "Your husband, Leo Reed, died in the ocean 6 months ago. I don't know who you're looking for." Nora fell to her knees, sobbing. "I was wrong. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me." Leo looked at her, his expression flat. "I don't hate you, Nora. You're just a stranger to me. Please stop bothering my family." He walked inside. Nina called the police, and Nora was served with a restraining order. Nora couldn't get close, but she had money. She began investing in the community so that Leo never had to pay for anything. She sent 999 roses to his house every day. When Christmas approached, Nina's family invited Leo to a beach resort. Leo went, even though he knew Nora was hosting a film festival nearby, featuring his favorite actors just to lure him out. At the beach, Nina asked Leo to help her with sunscreen. Leo felt Nora's burning gaze from a distance. Soon, a string of handsome models began approaching Nina, trying to hit on her. Nina realized it was Nora's doing. "Can you tell your ex to stop? I'm a professional." Leo wanted to talk to Nora. "Does this make you feel powerful? Nina is my sister. Sarah is my mother. This is my family. Stop trying to destroy it." Nora begged for one more chance. "I'll move the company here. We can just be a normal couple." Leo took her hand and placed it over his heart. "I had the memory procedure, Nora. I don't remember loving you. I feel nothing." The light in Nora's eyes died. Suddenly, Sarah ran up, panicked. "Have you seen Beth? She's gone." Sarah was in tears. Beth never wandered off. Leo checked the GPS on the smartwatch he'd given Beth. "She's 2 miles away. She's moving fast. She's in a car." Nora stepped in. "I've got my people on it." They checked the security footage. Beth had been taken by Joe, a popular teacher at her preschool. The police revealed Joe was a wanted predator from another state. Leo felt a chill. Joe wasn't just a kidnapper. He was part of an organ trafficking ring. Nora used her connections to find the hideout, a condemned hospital 40 miles away. "My security is 10 minutes out," Nora told Leo as they arrived. "They have guns. Take this." She handed him a pistol. "Protect yourself." Leo found Beth and several other children in a basement surgical suite. They were drugged. The kidnappers heard the sirens and tried to break in to clean up the evidence. Leo held them off with the gun until the police swarmed the building. Nora took a bullet to the lung, saving Nina from an ambush. At the hospital, Nora was in stable condition. She tried to act heroic, but Leo was cold. "I'm not like you, Nora. I don't make people choose. My family is my priority." Nina added, "Deep feelings are worth nothing when they come this late." Nora handed Nina a will. "Doesn't matter. If I die, Leo gets everything." Leo didn't even look at it. "Donate it." Nora recovered and returned home. Her injury had revealed she had late-stage stomach cancer. She didn't tell Leo. 6 months later, a massive hurricane hit the coast. Leo's neighborhood was evacuated. In the chaos, Nora arrived in a private rescue helicopter. "Leo, thank you for coming," Leo said as they were airlifted to safety. In the face of a natural disaster, his resentment felt small. At the hotel, Leo saw how thin Nora had become. She wasn't wearing her hat, revealing her hair loss from chemo. "You're sick," Leo realized. "Karma," Nora whispered. "I wanted to live long enough to see you safe one last time. From now on, you're on your own, Leo." Leo gave her a lucky charm he'd made. For the road. Nora's eyes filled with tears. "If I hadn't been so cruel, would things have been different?" Final chapter. Leo didn't answer. Some things can't be undone. A month later, Nora Sterling died in a hospital back home. Her will left her multi-billion-dollar estate to charity in Leo's name, funding thousands of underprivileged students. She donated her body to medical science. "This is my last chance to atone," her final statement read. Years later, Nina married a man she met on vacation. Leo moved back to the city with Sarah to start his own tech company. By the age of 40, Leo Reed was a billionaire and a philanthropist. When the media asked about his personal life, he smiled. "I have a beautiful, full family. For the rest of my life, I choose to love myself." Story complete.